Antarctica, the most remote and hostile continent on Earth. In January 2026, during an unscheduled cargo mission across the eastern sector of Queen Maud Land, a twin-engine aircraft registered to Polaris Research Logistics crashed 117 kilometers northeast of Concordia Station. The pilot, 38-year-old Oliver Scott, a seasoned contractor with over 2,000 polar flight hours, had departed from the Norwegian Troll Station at 0610 UTC. His destination was an isolated mobile outpost known as D9, operated intermittently by international glaciological teams. The cargo consisted of thermal sensors, food rations, backup solar equipment, and medical kits. At 0843 UTC, contact was lost. Satellite transponders stopped transmitting. The emergency beacon was never activated. According to post-event telemetry reconstructions, a severe polar vortex moving in from the Weddell Sea caused a sudden drop in visibility and induced power fluctuations in the port engine. Flight data ceased entirely at 0848. 3 minutes later, seismic sensors at Concordia Station recorded a localized impact consistent with a small-scale aviation crash. Due to extreme weather conditions, search efforts were delayed. Impact coordinates were later confirmed via thermal drone: 75 degrees 21 minutes south, 122 degrees 43 minutes east. The aircraft had crash-landed on an unstable ice shelf. Its fuselage fractured in 2 places, with the cockpit partially embedded in compacted snow. The pilot survived with moderate injuries, including suspected rib fractures and a scalp laceration. Oxygen levels were stable. Ambient temperature at time of crash, minus 38 degrees Celsius. Scott's onboard emergency transmitter was destroyed on impact. However, within the rear storage panel, he located a prototype SOS Modulin experimental signal capsule equipped with burst data memory and position tracking. Realizing he had no remaining method of long-distance communication, the pilot recorded a GPS snapshot and sealed the chip within a watertight container. Then when an anomaly occurred, eyewitness testimony, as later provided in post-rescue debrief, states that several hours after the crash, a pelican species, Pelicanus occidentalis, native to temperate and tropical zones, was observed circling the wreck site. The appearance of such a bird at high southern latitudes in the middle of the Antarctic summer is biologically unprecedented. Avian migration specialists consulted later determined it was likely disoriented due to climate pattern disruption. The Pelican landed near the fuselage and remained within visible range for at least 2 hours. At 1412 UTC, Scott secured the SOS chip beneath the bird's throat pouch using insulated aviation cord. He reported no resistance from the animal. The Pelican departed at 1424 UTC, heading north-northeast. Over the next 36 hours, the pilot remained at the crash site. Rations included 6 protein bars, 3 liters of meltwater, 1 foil thermal blanket, and a single flare cartridge. Ambient temperatures fluctuated between minus 38 degrees Celsius and minus 44 degrees Celsius. No significant auroral activity. Wind speeds reached 112 kilometers per hour at peak. Shelter was improvised using the front section of the cockpit. Structural integrity was compromised but remained habitable. Pilot experienced mild frostbite on digits and signs of early hypothermia onset. Without confirmation that the Pelican would reach a manned station, and lacking further survival options, Scott made the decision to remain in place and await extraction. His final recorded log entry, written on waterproof polymer paper: no signal. Rations low. Bird is gone. If this works, it's because something impossible happened. At 3:37 UTC on January 12th, a signal burst was detected at the Franco-Italian Concordia station. The burst was not from satellite uplink, but from a localized frequency sweeping identical to the Polaris SOS prototype tested in 2025. The source? A small plastic capsule attached beneath the neck of a large, frost-covered pelican that had landed near the station's weather antennae. Scientists retrieved the capsule. Inside, a GPS file with exact coordinates of the crash site, a timestamp, and an identifier code matched to Oliver Scott's flight manifest. At 0419 UTC, emergency aerial dispatch was launched. ETA to site 2 hours 50 minutes. January 12, 2026, 0711 UTC. The twin-blade helicopter designated RES-C4 departed Concordia Station en route to the reported coordinates transmitted by the SOS capsule. The crew consisted of 3 individuals: Commander Luca Ferraro, pilot; Dr. Hanna Kowalski, field medic; Hakunana, Corporal Emil Torres, Technical Recovery Specialist. Weather conditions: clear skies, minus 33 degrees Celsius. Surface wind at 27 kilometers per hour. Flight duration to target: 2 hours, 48 minutes. Flight path traced along pre-designated corridor Bravo 6 to avoid crevasse zones. Meanwhile, at Concordia Station, avian biologist Dr. Lauren Mendoza began preliminary observation of the Pelican. Despite exposure to extreme cold, the bird remained alive but exhibited signs of exhaustion and minor tissue damage on webbed feet. No ID tag or migration chip was present. Initial blood analysis revealed mild hypothermia and dehydration. No frostbite. Species confirmed: Pelicanus occidentalis carolinensis, typically found along the southeastern coast of the United States. Estimated distance from last known habitat: approximately 13,000 kilometers. Estimated minimum flight time to reach Concordia under non-stop conditions: 43 hours. Conclusion: physiological survival improbable under standard avian limits. Observation note from Dr. Mendoza: the bird's eyes remain alert. It follows movement, reacts to warmth. It shouldn't be here, and yet it is. Behaviorally, it demonstrates no panic, only fatigue. At 0806 UTC, internal memo issued from Polar Research Command, Geneva. Unprecedented biological anomaly. Preserved specimen, full quarantine protocol. 0852 UTC Risk 4 encountered turbulence over the Ross Ice Shelf. Visual on target achieved at 0903 UTC. First sighting: wreckage partially buried in snow, cockpit visible. Thermal imaging indicated low but persistent heat signature from within fuselage. No other movement observed. Commander Ferraro initiated vertical hover descent at 0907. Rescue team made ground contact at 0911. Photographic documentation confirmed the following: Sorrentine, aircraft Polaris TL-10, serial number 47629. Tail section detached, found 120 meters northeast. Our right wing folded beneath snow. Prusa, primary door partially open. SOS, flare casing visible but unused. Makeshift windbreak constructed from insulation panels. At 0914 UTC, Dr. Kowalski located Oliver Scott inside the cockpit, semi-conscious, wrapped in thermal material. Core body temperature: 34.1 degrees Celsius. Pulse: weak but stable. Verbal response: minimal but coherent. First recorded words post-rescue: did the bird make it? Evacuation proceeded without complication. Scott was airlifted at 9:33 and received immediate IV rehydration and oxygen. He arrived at Concordia's medbay at 12:22 UTC. Status upon arrival: hypothermic, 2 fractured ribs, signs of early kidney stress, superficial cranial trauma. Placed under observation for 48 hours. January 13, 2026. In a debriefing conducted by station coordinator Dr. Elena Moreau, Scott recounted the following: I'd read once about ravens delivering notes during wartime, but we didn't have ravens. We didn't have radios. We had that bird. It didn't feel like a miracle. It felt like the only option left. It stood there, looking at me like it understood. He confirmed that the SOS capsule was intact and configured before attachment. Time from release to recovery: approximately 19 hours, 38 minutes. Flight direction of bird northeast against prevailing wind. Concordia's systems registered no additional aerial traffic in that window. Satellite surveillance archives showed a faint thermal anomaly passing through airspace at approximately 4,500 meters elevation at 22:45 UTC the previous evening. Trajectory matched estimated Pelican flight path. On January 14, 2026, the Pelican, now designated specimen ZDPEL-112, was transferred to a temperature-controlled habitat within the Concordia biodome for monitoring. Behavior remained passive. Food intake resumed. Wing extension tested normal range. Flight capability limited but functional. No previous encounters with this species in Antarctica had been recorded by any international biological databases. Dr. Mendoza noted in her log, "It may have been lost, but its timing, its direction, the fact it stayed near the wreckage, it raises questions about instinct, about intention." International media picked up the event on January 15, 2026. Headlines described the Pelican as a feathered hero and messenger of survival. Public fascination led to over 3.2 million social media interactions within 72 hours. Polaris Research Division issued the following statement: "The recovery of Oliver Scott would not have been possible without an unlikely chain of events. including the appearance and persistence of a migrating pelican. We are conducting a full analysis of flight records, species anomalies, and atmospheric patterns. All data will be made publicly available. January 16, 2026. The Pelican remained in observation under designation ZDPEL-112. Environmental parameters in the controlled dome were set to plus 12 degrees Celsius with 55% humidity, mimicking coastal temperate zone. Despite initial recovery, researchers noted persistent anomalies in the bird's orientation behavior. Between 0600 and 1100 UTC, the Pelican was observed walking in precise semicircular patterns 5 times, each time facing magnetic north. Attempts to disrupt the movement with obstructions failed. After the 5th rotation, the bird remained still for 4 minutes, then vocalized once and resumed rest. Dr. Mendoza's log: this is not typical for the species. It's not random motion. There's a pattern. We're recording for further analysis, but it feels intentional. At 1332 UTC, a delegation from the Italian Antarctic program arrived to collect telemetry from the SOS Beacon. A duplicate of the data was forwarded to the European Space Operations Center, ESOC, for signal authentication. The results confirmed the capsule contained an unbroken sequence of geotime data pulses, manually initiated and terminated. Total duration of recorded flight data embedded in the chip: 1,172 kilometers. Interpolated route: beginning at 75 degrees 21 minutes south, 122 degrees 43 minutes east, terminating at Concordia Station. Deviation from straight line path: 6.4%. Estimated energy expenditure based on flight physiology: unsustainable for species Pelicanus occidentalis. Additional finding: fragments of metallic dust were detected in microscratches on the capsule casing. Source: airborne particles traced back to upper stratospheric layer. No matching material was found at ground level. Conclusion from ESOC report: the Pelican must have reached elevations exceeding 5,000 meters at multiple points. This altitude is outside known migratory behavior and exceeds oxygen capacity for the species. On January 17th, Oliver Scott was released from medical observation. He was relocated to the Concordia Commons and began reviewing flight logs and thermal satellite images provided by staff. He requested access to the biodome to see the bird. Request granted. Witnesses reported that upon entering the dome, the Pelican immediately lifted its head and turned toward him. He approached, placed his hand gently on the plexiglass, and remained still for 45 seconds. The Pelican mirrored the movement, pressing its beak softly to the opposite side. Dr. Mendoza recorded the moment on camera. No vocalization, no signs of distress, only a motionless moment of recognition. Scott later stated, "I don't know what made it stay. Maybe the cold, maybe fate. But that bird, it didn't just fly here, it chose to." That same evening, Concordia's lead communications technician, Ivan Karpov, completed a spectral scan of the SOS signal. He discovered a high-frequency burst embedded at the start of the signal sequence, imperceptible to standard receivers. Duration 0.61 seconds. Band 59 kilohertz. Content, not data but tonal. A waveform analysis indicated a distinct rhythmic pulse, 5 beats, followed by a pause, then 3 beats. Pattern repeated once, then silence. When compared with historical analogs, the sequence bore structural similarity to encoded avian distress calls, but compressed into digital frequency range. Dr. Mendoza's comment: "That's impossible. The capsule had no audio transceiver, but the Pelican's throat pouch may have acted as an accidental resonator. The signal could have been reinforced." A new theory emerged, one that suggested that the Pelican had not only delivered the chip, but may have unintentionally amplified the beacon's signal, using its own body as a passive biological antenna. If true, it would explain how Concordia received a signal burst when satellites had failed. The data was sent to the ETH Zurich Institute of Animal Cognition for further analysis. On January 19th, a snowstorm struck Concordia Station. Winds exceeded 140 kilometers per hour. All exterior access was closed for 18 hours. During the storm, the Pelican became agitated. It stood upright for extended periods, flapping intermittently, pacing near the dome's reinforced skylight. At 0341 UTC, during peak wind pressure, the bird extended its wings fully, faced the storm, and remained in position for 12 minutes. No similar behavior had been recorded in captivity. Cameras captured the entire event. At 4:10, it settled. When the storm ended, power was briefly lost. All backup systems restored within 12 minutes. No loss of scientific data. Following the event, Dr. Mendoza submitted a formal request. Relocate ZDPEL-112 to controlled coastal habitat in South Georgia for long-term monitoring. Request denied by the Council for Antarctic Environmental Control, citing biological anomaly status. The Pelican remained in Concordia for continued observation. January 21, 2026. Anomalous behavior in specimen ZDPEL-112 increased. The Pelican exhibited periods of stillness lasting up to 90 minutes, during which its pulse rate dropped by 28%, and thermographic scans showed localized warmth near the cranial base. Neurological experts suggested the possibility of torpor or altered brainwave states. EEG readings proved inconclusive. Attempts to simulate normal circadian behavior failed. The bird's sleep cycle appeared unaligned with both daylight and station lighting. At 0316 UTC, security feed from the biodome recorded the Pelican standing on its right leg, neck fully retracted, staring upward for 11 minutes without blinking. No external stimuli were recorded during the event. Infrared logs showed a brief fluctuation in the bird's internal temperature, a drop of 2.1 degrees Celsius, followed by immediate stabilization. At 700 hours UTC during routine perimeter inspection following storm recovery, technician Martin Elsner discovered a trail of webbed prints in the snow. Length of trail, 143 meters. Direction, east-northeast. Destination, edge of Communications Hill, elevation 27 meters. Termination, clean as though liftoff occurred. No signs of struggle, predator attack, or human interference. The biodome's rear hatch remained locked. Interior cameras showed no breach. The Pelican was gone. Search drones were deployed immediately. Aerial scans conducted every 6 hours over a 150-kilometer radius. No sightings. All station personnel were questioned. No one witnessed the departure. All logged entry times cross-checked with surveillance. The bird had vanished. Satellite review from ESA European Space Agency, requested by Dr. Mendoza, revealed one visual anomaly. At 0739 UTC, a heat signature was captured 84 kilometers southeast of Concordia. Low altitude, biological mass, traveling at 43 kilometers per hour against prevailing winds. Object disappeared from sensors 12 minutes later. Temperature signature matched that of ZDPEL-112. Flight path was erratic, not migratory, not efficient. It looped once, then veered off-grid. 3 days later, on January 24th, at 1807 UTC, an Argentine weather station near Belgrano, two reported an unexpected sighting. Senior technician Claudio Bianchi documented the presence of a large pelican circling the outpost perimeter. The bird descended once, landed briefly, then flew eastward. Bianchi's field log entry: "I thought it was a hallucination, but the bird had something on its neck. I swear I saw a thread or strap. Before I could take a photo, it lifted off." Image analysis from security cameras, low resolution, confirmed. Large bird, consistent wingspan, time-stamped. No match in local fauna. Estimated flight distance from Concordia to Belgrano 2, approximately 620 kilometers. Flight time, based on Bianchi's sighting, 3 days, 11 hours. Conclusion: feasible only with minimal rest and tailwind assistance. Still exceeds known species capability. Meanwhile, Oliver Scott remained at Concordia, participating in debrief sessions and psychological evaluation. He requested updates on the bird daily. Upon being told it had vanished, he reportedly said only, "Of course it did." No further comment recorded. On January 27th, a parcel arrived at Concordia Station via diplomatic pouch from the University of Buenos Aires. Contents: one grainy photo of a pelican taken on January 24th. Caribbean field note: a piece of plastic tubing retrieved near Belgrano 2's generator shack. Markings on tubing were consistent with the original SOS capsule, though the chip itself was missing. Chemical analysis showed fine layers of biological oil consistent with pelican pouch lining. Mendoza's internal memo: he dropped it. Maybe intentionally. Maybe it was over. The message had been delivered. By February 2nd, all search efforts were suspended. The Pelican was officially listed in Polaris logs as biological anomaly missing, presumed airborne. An international paper was submitted to Nature Communications under the title Unexplained Avian Navigation in High-Latitude Emergency Signal Relay, a Case Study. Lead authors: Dr. Lauren Mendoza, Concordia; Dr. Philip Wojtek, Zurich; Dr. Claudio Bianchi, Belgrano 2. Peer review pending. Oliver Scott was flown to Hobart, Tasmania on February 6th. He declined interviews. He was last seen boarding a regional flight to Auckland, New Zealand. Follow-up correspondence sent to Polaris Research Division 2 months later contained a brief handwritten note. You don't need to understand the bird. You just need to believe it flew.